So I'm watching the Univision debate as I'm eating lunch. I like the fact that Bernie brought up Libya in the right context. I hope that catches on a little. With all the talk about Benghazi and the emails, it's obscuring how poor of a judgment call it was, and how it was a crisis point in the new revival of the Anglo-Russian conflict. The media is drawing attention to what is really just empty politics, but there's a really serious issue lurking underneath, and it's great to see it coming back. But I want to take note of this debate on immigration, as it's obviously of importance in the Spanish-speaking and broadly indigenous vote. The question was phrased something like, are you actually concerned about working conditions, or are you really just concerned that they steal jobs from white people? It has to be the worst debate question I've ever heard. It's meant to imply that Sanders is some kind of racist. And from a passive debate perspective, such an approach is likely to have a bigger effect on a white progressive from Oregon than a potential voter in Arizona, for the reason that people on the ground know how ridiculous the question is. Do you really oppose war because it's violent, or are you just concerned that it kills people? The concerns are interchangeable, right? The point is that the undocumented workers are not protected by labor laws, so firms can save money by hiring them. If you enforce the labor laws, you'd create jobs for Americans. So it's a false dichotomy. Like, it's not one or the other; it's both, and you can't separate the two things. They are the same thing, right? So they might hit them on this. You say one thing to white people and another to indigenous people, sure. But they're consistent, right? It's the same argument from differing experiential perspectives. But this is what the media does. It tries to divide people over nonsense. And by skewing the presentation ever so slightly, they can make it seem like Bernie is on the side of the Tea Party. As ridiculous as that is, creating an exaggerated choice between good and evil. If you're informed, you won't fall for this. If you're not, because you're too far away, maybe, you might. He's got to get this across. He'll never do it in a debate, though. It's too complicated. This topic also allowed Hillary to enrage me once again. They talked about the 2007 bill, which Sanders voted against because it created systems with poor working conditions, thereby taking away jobs from Americans who would be protected by the labor laws that they were circumventing in order to create the guest worker programs, right? Hillary voted for it, and she's throwing this line around. I couldn't imagine the United Farm Workers supporting a bill that created slave-like working conditions. I just knew it snapped. Okay, because she knows exactly what she's doing. It looks, great from a distance, doesn't it? The United Farm Workers supported it. If you know anything about the United Farm Workers, okay, she knows exactly what she's doing. And if you're informed on this topic, that should make you extremely angry. It's the worst level of slime, the lowest kind of sleaze, okay? Drop the benefit of the doubt on her. That line made it absolutely clear to me that she knows exactly what she's doing. I can't get into this here. It's too complicated. The United Farm Workers are not an organization that you want to consult if you're concerned about the views of farm workers. As unfortunate as that is, go forth and seek out this information. That's all I can say about that. See, he also touched on the good neighbor policy, criticizing the Monroe Doctrine. See, that's a huge heart-tugger for me. I actually sampled the good neighbor speech in one of my songs. It's one of those progress-type things that Hegelians love so much. He's not perfect, don't get me wrong here, but he's pushing a lot of unexpected buttons. That's one of those things that if you push that button, you're going to get a rise out of me, and a good rise, too. And I'd have never thought I'd be sitting here and watching a serious candidate for the presidency criticize the Monroe Doctrine. Obviously, it did happen once before, but that was before we ended history. I'm starting to get that feeling about this guy, right? And I did actually get the track up. I put it up. But in the end, Bernie might not pass much himself. Who might his VP be? It can't be her. Not Clinton. That person has to carry things forward. He'll be 75 in November. Okay, 79 in 4 years. Life expectancy is 78. If we can get 2 terms out of him, we'll be lucky. Realistically, nobody should. If he manages to win, nobody should expect him to run a second term. Okay? But if you can bring back history, he'll have done something. I've keyed in on this narrative before, and I'll key in on it again. We're living through the years where we're bringing history back. That's what's happening right now. We're reestablishing the concept of history.